A couple of weeks ago, I gave up on playing Guacamelee for like the third time in my life because I just could not cope with the difficult platforming of that game. This has become kind of a ritual for me. The colorful, inviting premise of the game invites me back to try it every few years and then treats me like pure shit by making me realize that my gaming skills have not improved much at all. In fact, I believe this game is what confirmed this looming suspicion in my mind that I am, in my DNA, bad at platforming. Which is sad news because I love 2D metroidvanias, which inherently come with platforming in various degrees. And as you can imagine, since I love 2D metroidvanias, I was eagerly waiting for Hollow Knight Silksong. Pretty much from the get-go, I sensed that it's much more difficult than Hollow Knight, not too much on the platforming side, but on the combat side for sure. And when I kept losing again and again in this seemingly never-ending gauntlet of a boss fight, I gave up with an extremely sour taste in my mouth. Luckily, that's when I noticed Islets sitting on my Epic game library, which I had claimed a free copy of at some point. It's a great small-scale 2D metroidvania that strikes a great balance between platforming, puzzle solving, and action. And so, it worked as a perfect palate cleanser for me to get over the trauma that Silksong gave me. The protagonist of Islets is a mouse called Echo, who is one of the many warrior wannabes who wants to slay beasts and restore these islets, which means small islands, and I'm going to pretend I knew this before playing this game, that were joined together but then got separated, and because of that, they are infested by cute-looking evil monsters. It is a solo-developed Metroidvania, which even without the solo-developed tag is quite impressive. But that tag makes it overwhelmingly so. It is astounding that a single person who did the coding, the game design, and the artworks is able to succeed in all three of those departments with such flying colors. In short, the game is great, and if you like Metroidvanias, it is a very easy recommendation. The game is also quite easy and relaxing, but not boring in any way, as you get a constant sense of progress and forward momentum throughout your roughly 8 to 10 hour long gameplay. The rest of this video would mainly comprise nitpicking, which might contain stuff some of you'd consider spoilers, although I believe they're not going to hurt your enjoyment of the game. Either way, consider yourselves notified.
Thanks.
The art style and the vibe of the game, although not the same, but reminded me a lot of this other great Metroidvania called Yoku's Island Express, which I reviewed in this channel. Link should be on the top right of the screen and in the description. Both games have cute and funny characters, an island theme, letter writing, post boxes, etc. If you like Yoku's Island Express, you can rest assured that you'd like Islets as well.
That's right.
The movement in this game could be described as floaty, and there is a sense of low gravity in the entire game, which might be fitting considering that the islets that you're on a mission to join together are all floating in the sky. The player character is pretty fast, and there is an acceleration in the character's walking speed, which further adds to the floatiness of the movement. Even before you get the double jump, moving around just feels buttery smooth. Speaking of double jump, that's the first ability you unlock, which in my opinion should be made into a law for every Metroidvania. See you in jail, Silksong. You also unlock wall climb pretty quickly, which together with the double jump make the game feel of moving around very enjoyable. What adds to this enjoyment is the level design. For a solo developed game, there is more than enough visual variety in the levels, although the samey tile sets repeated in each section at times does signal the limitation of being a solo project. But still, the backgrounds, the environmental effects, and the cute yet moody atmospheres manage to make the sameness more than tolerable. And the visuals, although you can see some obvious inspirations, by no means feel cheap. You'd also quickly learn to ignore it because the puzzles and the enemy encounters that are placed within these levels are very expertly done. One small criticism I have about the level design is that it has too many of these secret areas. As long as you remain inquisitive, you'd keep encountering them very regularly, which totally diminishes the joy of finding secrets. In my opinion, the number of these should be cut to half. parts of the world are blocked by these concrete structures that must be hit from one specific side. Finding this breakable side is a recurring part of the general exploration puzzle. Most of the inaccessible areas in the game are blocked by this method. It is a simple idea, but the game implements it well enough that it never gets old or feels hackneyed in any way. You also have your regular metroidvania methods of blocking access to areas, like levers that need to be pulled, keys that need to be attacked to put them inside locks, and the classic room full of enemies that need to be killed. Combat is perhaps the one area of the game which is just okay. You have a sword and a bow. Despite upgrading a few times, the bow felt pretty weak throughout my journey. But I was okay with that, as the game communicates from the very beginning that it's meant to be only a secondary weapon and thus shouldn't be relied upon to do any considerable amount of damage. The sword, however, was kind of disappointing. Unlike most sword-wielding games where you swing the sword in an arc and there are multiple different swings that constitute a whole set of strikes, here you just stab with the sword, which also pushes you forward a little. There is no set of different swings or anything like that. It's serviceable, and when facing normal enemies, it's tolerable, but in boss fights, the lack of variety in the stabbing animation becomes very prominent, which takes away much of the joy of stabbing and just makes it feel highly repetitive, mechanical, and kind of boring. Despite good sound design and visual effects to sell the stabbing, the lack of animation variety definitely hurts the combat a lot. It does get slightly better when you get upgrades to make enemies burst when dying or yourself burst when getting hurt, etc. But unless you solely focus on upgrading combat side specifically, by the time you naturally upgrade to that point, the game is almost over. Speaking of upgrades, they mostly come from collecting these faces that give you 3 options to choose from. Some of them add new things like shooting extra blasts when you perform a ground pound, the others simply boost stats of existing powers. I like how the game gives the players control over what to upgrade, although very soon the novelty of the upgrades wears off and getting to these upgrade pickups lose their excitement a little bit. A lot of these upgrade pickups are tied to mini challenges like combat time trials or these platforming puzzles that need to be completed within a very short time limit. This gives the players a nice choice about these upgrades by being totally optional, but also intriguing enough to make the players want to pursue them. I'm not a completionist by any means, but even I felt enthusiastic enough to collect all but only a handful of them. 2 stat upgrades, health and weapon strength, can be bought with money as well, which offers players the freedom to pick other options from these pickups, as otherwise most players, I imagine, would choose health and strength upgrades only, making these other options kind of useless. The reason I think most people would choose health and weapon upgrades over anything else is because it's really difficult to feel the impact of upgrading these stats until you've upgraded them a whole bunch of times. I mean, look at my health bar during the last stretch of the game, where I upgraded it a few times with money and chose to upgrade it every time it showed up during one of those upgrade pickups. Not only does it look very small visually, it also feels small.
That's what she said!
Same goes for the weapon, which even after upgrading a lot, coupled with the monotonous stab animation, doesn't feel very powerful, again especially during boss fights. The bosses themselves are pretty well designed though. Like the rest of the game, they are balanced just right that you might be able to kill most of them in one go like I did, all the while not feeling that they are super easy. And again, for a solo developed game, I didn't expect it to have this many bosses, so I'm quite impressed by the boss fights. Pretty much no complaints there. The best part of the game is the exploration. The somewhat labyrinthian maps are fun to explore, and not only does the game provide a sense of excitement about new explorable areas every time you unlock a new ability, but also, since the primary objective of the game is to find these cores to connect these separate islets together, once you connect them, new pathways open up, which provide a further sense of excitement about new exploration adventures. This was the primary drive that kept me going, and except some areas where I felt a few more shortcuts or fast travel options would have been nicer, I generally loved the exploration in this game and a sense of wonder it provided. My entire time with this game was filled with fun and excitement. And like I said in the beginning, there isn't any major flaw in it that I can think of. It's currently priced at $20 on Steam and it often goes on sale. I myself got it for free in the Epic Game Store giveaway, but seeing how great the game is, I think the price is pretty good. It's a great small-scale, relaxing metroidvania with really smooth-feeling traversal options, cute, funny characters and dialogues, good boss designs, and overall a very fun time.